Hi there. Thanks for joining me once again for podcast number 80. Everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the face. I attributed this quote to Mike Tyson, although I have a feeling somebody else probably said that first. But you can argue with Mr. Tyson about that if you like. All right, here goes. So life is about work. And by that, I mean you need to work hard on yourself and what you do, and then reap the rewards of those efforts accordingly. If you are the child of a rich family and have everything handed to you your whole life, you are not getting the necessary inoculations that the rest of us are. Just like training muscles for growth by putting them under tension and stress, your mind and your resolve need to have that same kind of training. A life of comfort and sheltering from anything stressful or challenging is not a good life. As a parent, you should not be providing this. And as your own person, you should not want it. Everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. A very true statement by one of the most dominant fighters who has ever lived. You don't know what you're made of until you've been tested. Whether this is actually getting punched in the mouth, or starting a business venture that fails, or a sudden breakup in a relationship, or getting fired from a job, you don't really know how you're going to handle that situation until you're in it. You might have a game plan, but I want you to shoot for the moon when it comes to your goals. Keep in mind that the work is the key to getting there. On the way to the goal is where the value is found. Let me repeat that again so that it doesn't get missed. On the way to the goal is where the value is found. It is on the journey where you learn about who you really are, what you can take, and whether or not you're on a path that you are suited for. I can say in full confidence, looking back at it, that my racquetball career was far more about self-exploration than it was about accruing trophies and prize money checks. It was the most formative thing I have ever done. My apologies to the public education system, but it's true. I learned way more on the road as a racquetball player than I ever did sitting in a classroom. If you want to end up partying poolside in Vegas or taking a private jet as your main means of travel, great, go for it. But understand this, if that is handed to you, it will not have anywhere near the value if you earn it yourself. It only means something when you struggle and grind and achieve it on your own. Be like a hungry fighter, waking up at dawn to run 12 miles as a warm-up for the rest of your day's work. When you rise to the top, don't lose sight of the hunger and the level of work it took to get you there. It may actually take more work to keep you there. The daily goal is to learn and grow and refine and polish yourself as a person. The wins and losses will come as part of the journey. You need to be sure to take a break once in a while, look around and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But don't fall prey to the idea of flexing and keeping up with what everybody else is doing. Live your own life, your own way, and make the most of it. Plan for the future, because if you have things go the way you want right now, doesn't mean that punch isn't coming around the corner. You need to define your own goals, set the bar, and keep raising your own standards to achieve what you want. Personally, I don't want to spend any more time in Vegas than is required for my day job, but that's me. Not everyone finds fly fishing as cathartic as I do. And admittedly, it took me a little while to learn that too. Figure it out soon, though, what you really want and what you really need, and map out a plan to get there. Remember, at some point, you are going to get punched in the mouth. How you recover, retool, and adjust from there will determine whether or not you're going to reach the goals you have set. The reward of those goals is not a stress-free and lazy life. That will lead you to both mental, physical, and emotional bankruptcy. If you are in the ring, you are going to take that punch at some point. Get up and come back for more. It's the only way you are going to reach the end goal, whatever your definition of that may be. That is how you're going to find out who you really are. I wish you luck in your endeavors. So I just got done listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and a guy that is the founder of the Spartan races. And I thought that was very timely considering I had planned on reading this podcast, because they were talking about the same thing. The idea that you need to suffer to learn who you are, to understand that it's the daily discipline of doing things that you don't want to do, that are difficult to do, that really sets the tone for your life. If you are lazy or avoid things that are difficult or have everything handed to you and never have to really work hard to get something, your life is going to be very, very difficult in the long run from the aspect of you being a mentally and emotionally resilient person. The only way to practice those skills of resiliency is to test yourself and to fail and to try again over and over and over. Regardless of what the discipline is, whether it's in business or in school or sports or any other kind of discipline, you need to get up every day and do the work and deal with the fact that some days are better than others. Some days you can't get anything right. And other days, everything flows and goes perfectly, and you wish that you had more control to make that happen more often. The reality is that you are starting at a baseline level and trying to improve from there. How much you improve really does depend on what kind of work you're willing to do. If you're willing to get up and log the hard miles, I gave the analogy of the boxer or the fighter who gets up and run 12 miles before they start their day. If you're willing to do that, you are going to go far. Even if it's not winning a world title, as an example, that's not the only goal or the only reward for those pursuits. I did not end up number one in the world in my chosen sport, but I learned so much more on that journey about myself and who I was at the time and who I wanted and needed to become to continue to move forward than I ever did sitting in a classroom. I just think that that's going to be true for most people. The way the education system is structured and the fact that it's aimed at the lowest common denominator does not help you truly excel in your endeavors. It is going to help you learn some basics, but it's not going to help you truly elevate yourself out of that generic approach that education is taking. It's meant to help the masses. 100 years ago, it was meant to churn out factory workers who could get stuff done and be part of the greater good. Nowadays, it is trying to help people get jobs that fit in today's job market. And honestly, in my opinion, personally, doing a poor job of it. And I believe that for most people who go to school and graduate, it teaches you how to learn and regurgitate a large chunk of information, how to put things off to the last minute and still get stuff done, how to get hired for a job to some degree. Once you get hired for the job, then you will learn what it is you need to learn to do that job. Unless you're doing something specific like going to school to be an architect, yes, you're going to leave that program with the know-how to be an architect. If you're graduating with a business degree, you are not ready to run a business. Believe me, there is so much that you do not know that was not touched on, that you don't have any business, quote unquote, trying to leave school and set up shop running a business right as soon as you graduate from college. Now, if you have the intestinal fortitude and the finances to set up a business knowing that, you know what, this might fail, but I'll learn a lot, that's a different story. Most people don't have that luxury. Thank you for joining me on the Darren Chatter podcast. I'm going to be reading some of my blog posts that I have written so that you can consume this information in an audio format versus reading the blogs if this is more to your liking. I'm going to share with you stories from my past as an athlete, as a coach, as a salesperson, as a business professional, as a VP of sales. Everything that I have learned and amassed along the way in my 50 years here on planet Earth, I'm going to hope to share with you in order to help you shorten your learning curve, understand maybe a little different way to look at things, and hopefully learn a few things along the way. So here was the podcast you tuned in for. I hope you enjoy it. Please reach out to me when you can and let me know your thoughts. Thank you. But I digress. Back to the main point of this, which was having the intestinal fortitude to struggle and try and fail and repeat that process over and over, instead of having somebody hand you the keys to the kingdom, thinking that you've learned everything you need to know just through osmosis of being around daddy owning a business or your parents starting a restaurant and they're going to have you take over, whatever it may be. The main thought that I wanted to make sure that I got across was basically this. You've got to earn your stripes. You've got to get to the point where you have... let me change that thought. The way you get good at something is that you have made every mistake that there is to be made, and you're still standing. Once you figure out how to, things that go wrong and how to right the ship, how to, hire the wrong employee and recover from that, how to structure the financial aspect of your company, or practice the violin for years and years and get a shot at making first chair in the orchestra, or have a tryout for a college scholarship and fail only to have another opportunity to come along, and that second tryout you actually make your mark and you get the opportunity, whatever it may be. You have to be able to face adversity, succeed sometimes, fail sometimes. Either way, get up, dust yourself off, and keep trying. Not all of your wins will be obvious in the beginning, but if you've never been tested, if you don't know how you're going to react when you get into those situations, you're going to really struggle having any kind of success come out of something that you're doing for the first time. So even if you can't mimic the exact scenario that you're trying to accomplish, doing anything that's difficult and facing adversity and coming back for more and continuing to try and improve is good practice for any other format of that. One of the things that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu always talks about is that the format is this. You do something and I defend it, and then I attack and you defend it. And that goes on forever. Regardless of your level of skill, that exchange will continue on in perpetuity forever and ever, because that is the game. And life is the same way. If you're a white belt in jiu-jitsu, you're going to get choked out a bunch. That's part of the deal. If you're a purple belt and you're halfway towards the top, or most of the way towards the top, there's still plenty of people who are going to make you tap out on a regular basis. But there's now a whole bunch of people that you can make tap out on a regular basis as well. So it's just a matter of constant progress and, again, having the resiliency developed through constant struggle that you will learn and grow the most. As always, I don't have all the answers, but you're welcome to the answers that I have. If you think I can be of assistance, please reach out to me on my website at darrenchatter.com/blog if you want to read the blogs and reach me that way, or go to any of the social media platforms that I'm on at Darren Chatter and reach out so we can connect. As always, I wish you luck with your endeavors.